how's it going? My name is Jay and welcome to the channel. Today we're back in Sannikovland in planetzoo. Before we get started today, I want to just say a huge thank you to everyone who followed my channel, who's supported me, because we have just hit 300 subscribers. So thank you so much. I really do feel like we're building up a bit of a community here. I do see that loads of you are commenting on each of my videos. A lot of you that have come back from like videos in the past and commented regularly. So thank you guys so much. I do really love seeing your feedback, your comments, and of course I reply to all of them. So if you're new here and you enjoy this content, please do consider hitting the subscribe button for more content like this. And of course, like this video if you do enjoy it. For those of you who are coming back, thank you so much. It really does mean the world to me. You guys are the best. I really like hearing from you, like I just said. And you guys recently as well, in the past few videos, I've asked for your feedback and suggestions for where I should take Sannikovland. And a lot of that feedback has been so useful in me deciding how I'm going to proceed with this park. Today we're going to take a little bit of a break from the animals actually though. We are going to be working on infrastructure. But as we go along, I will talk about some of the decisions I made for the park going forward, some of the ideas that you guys have given that I want to incorporate into the park, and ideas just like that. So we're going to be talking a lot about that today. But otherwise, let's get started and talk about the build itself that we're doing today. So what we're going to be doing is essentially building an admin building, an administration building for Sannikovland. So this is going to be primarily a staff building where there are going to be offices and things like that, but it's also going to have a very large guest facing component. So it's going to have a very big, very modern, kind of sleek looking lobby where guests can arrive and get a lot of information about the zoo, or if they have any questions, anything like that. So kind of a really big fancy lobby with a big circular desk like you'd see in a lot of kind of institutional buildings. It kind of feels a lot like a university building, which is kind of the vibe I was going for. There's going to be a small presentation hall, there's going to be, a few more office rooms, a few meeting rooms, stuff like that. So it's very much a multi-purpose building, and it's meant to act kind of as a bridge between the very utilitarian, very industrial staff buildings that we've been working on so far, and the very modern, very much themed and very colourful guest-facing area. So this is going to bridge those two in a very kind of a very realistic way, I think, because a lot of zoos in real life do have buildings like this. A couple elements of this were based on a visit I had to Blackpool Zoo a long time ago, I think about 3 years ago now. Now Blackpool Zoo is not, the best zoo in the world or whatever. I just happened to go there on a field trip with my university, and on that trip we did get to see a lot of the admin buildings, which I thought were pretty cool. They're a lot more low-key than this one, of course, because Blackpool Zoo isn't a very large zoo. It's pretty it's a pleasant zoo, but it's not, the biggest in the world or anything like that. And the admin buildings are definitely a lot more low-key than this, but I wanted to take the components that I experienced there and bring them into a larger scale. So for example, one of the things I really enjoyed about that was that it had a room which was kind of like almost like a lecture theatre. You'd have a lot of seats, and you'd have a projector and a screen, and you'd have like tables and desks, and essentially if you're coming to the zoo as a school group or with a larger group of people, you can all go in there, and essentially the zookeeper will give you like a talk about the animals, about the zoo, the history of the zoo, their work on conservation, things like that. And of course you can use this kind of room for multiple purposes, like you having a staff training day, you'd use this as well, and a lot of cool things like that. My experience in Blackpool Zoo was we went there, we had a talk about conservation, which was really nice, and they even brought out some animals for us to interact with, which I thought was really cool as well. And so this kind of serves that purpose. A few other rooms we do include are like meeting rooms and a couple office rooms. And here's something you guys should know. I'm really bad at interior design. Like, flat out, I am not familiar with the ins and outs of designing interiors. So a lot of this is me trying my best to kind of get into that headspace. So I'm trying to make like clutter, like a few drawers and cabinets and things like that. But nothing, I'm not super familiar with it, so there's gonna be a lot of empty space. And I make use of a lot of stuff off the workshop because people have made some really useful things for this. In fact, all the chairs that you see today are made by someone on the workshop, so please do check out the link in the description. Huge thanks to the creator of all these items, multiple creators actually, but they're so useful, especially things like chairs, because it's extremely tricky. You'd be surprised, but the simple things like desks and chairs can be very tricky to make in this game, especially to the right scale, because a lot of the items we have are a lot larger than we would necessarily require for human-sized items. So these creators have done a really fantastic job of creating things like this. I used a few lockers off the workshop, a few chairs, desks, things like that. So they've been extremely helpful, and they just bring a lot more life into this building. As far as the building itself goes, I finished up a couple of the interior rooms. There's still more to go, so the building isn't fully finished yet. There's definitely more I can do. But as far as the outside goes, that's definitely more than complete, I think. I don't think I'm going to add much more. It's it's made out of the stone brick pieces, which I think are a nice color, very grey, like a very bright grey. And of course, a ton of glass pieces. This building has a lot of open-faced glass, like really big window panes to help achieve that modern look, all held together by these girders, which I think, again, assists with that really sleek modern aesthetic that I'm going for. But the glass was tricky to work with because, for example, like I said, they wanted the lobby to have a massive glass roof, and the issue being the lobby is right in the middle of this building, and this building is not a straight like rectangle. It is actually two rectangles intersecting at a 15-degree angle, so it forms kind of this boomerang type shape, and that means I had a lot of issues with having to curve the glass around the middle. So that was really tricky, and I think it came out pretty okay. Like by the end of the video you'll see how it looks, and I'm really happy with how it looks. But yeah, working with a lot of glass on a curved building, would not recommend. I mean, I would recommend because it looks cool, would not recommend because it can be a pain in the neck, because it's very tricky to curve glass like that. As far as other things to do with the exterior go, I added a lot of greenery. I wanted a lot of greenery on this building, both inside and outside. So on the inside, what I did was, on the second floor, so above the ground floor, we have this kind of balcony that kind of circles the lobby. So you can look down from the balcony into the lobby, and around the edges of that balcony, I use loads of this wisteria plant to kind of hang down. So it gives that really nice kind of a green feel that kind of lingers around the whole zoo anyways, because the zoo is in a tropical rainforest and it's very dense. Here you walk into like a more air-conditioned building and you have cooler plants like this wisteria, so I thought that was quite nice. And on the outside as well, right at the front of the, essentially the entrance, there is a panel of green as well with a lot of flowers, very similar to what we did near the entrance. We also include lots of like bamboo and lots of the Cecropia. Is it Cecropia or Cecropia? I have no idea how to pronounce this. I think it's Cecropia plants. So the really skinny trees from the South America pack, I really love them. So we've included a few of them as well. And I think that really helps tie the building together, having this greenery on the outside, as well as just having a small elevated path just on the outside as well. At a very gentle elevation of almost just, I think, less than a meter, something like that. And off to the side of this building, I introduced a little cafe, as well as an outdoor cafe with two quite modern looking canopies, which you'll see me build later in the video. Those type of canopies are kind of a signature of mine. I used to do them all the time in Boomy Reptile Sanctuary and Idyllic Arctic Wildlife Park, so if you want to check out those videos, for the Boomy Reptile Sanctuary one, that was the Komodo dragon habitat that I did those canopies for. It's one of my first videos actually, I think it's like my 5th video. And for Idyllic, I did that for the polar bear habitat, so if you want to check those out, feel free. They're in my profile as usual on my channel, sorry. And these canopies are really easy to make, and they're very effective, I think. So I made 2 of them, and I kind of elevated half above the other, and it just makes for quite a modern look. And of course I changed the colors to match Sannikovland's kind of color theme, which is currently very much of this pale green with this really nice warm yellowy orange. So I think they work really well together and do help just tie it into the rest of the park as well. as far as the cafe itself is concerned, I just put down a few buildings, a few kind of like standard, like, a water stall, a juice stall, like a Mexican food stall, that stuff like that. And then I made the shell in the theme of the previous kind of food area that we did right at the front of the park. So the same colors, the same roofing, just in a bit of a different shape. So you'll be able to see me do that later as well. But yeah, taking a break from talking about this building for a bit, let's talk about what I'm going to be doing next. So, of course, we do have a bit of extra space to fill in this episode because we don't have a species profile, because we're not working on any animals. But I did want to talk about the suggestions that everyone's been leaving me in the past few episodes. Like I said, again, huge thank you to you guys, these are really helpful. But reading through all the comments, it became very clear quite quickly that it was kind of a decision I had to make between two different themes to continue with. So I would either have to go with a North American set of habitats or a Southeast Asian set of habitats. And the more I think about it, the more I'm leaning towards the Asian theme, because it would still stick with the tropical vibe that we've got going. Because if we did a North American section, it would require a lot of indoor habitats because all these animals need the cold weather. So for example, having wolves out in the open in a tropical environment would be probably a little bit detrimental to their health. So realistically, I would try to put them in indoor environment, and I might not even include them in the end because they're just like, you wouldn't be able to give them a really good indoor habitat in the end because it'll be it would need to be too big, and obviously it's doable, but it would just take a lot more effort. I might still do it in the future, but I'm pretty certain now actually that I am going to be going the Asian route from here on. So I'm thinking that we're going to split the Asian section into 3 separate areas. We're going to go with South Asia, then East Asia, and then Southeast Asia. So we're going to start with South Asia, I think. So that's going to include all the Indian animals, so the Indian elephant, the Indian rhinoceros, the Indian peafowl, stuff like that. And then if you go to East Asia, of course, we have animals like the panda, the red panda, the Formosan black bear, stuff like that. By the way, these animals are not necessarily going to be included. This is just like me kind of listing off examples. I'm not necessarily going to include all of them. And then of course Southeast Asia, which is once again where I'm from, if you guys didn't know. We have things like, of course, the orangutans, which are amazing, one of my favorite animals in the game. Things like the saltwater, even the saltwater crocodile can technically be considered Southeast Asian. I mean, they exist pretty much everywhere. And like other Southeast Asian animals, I don't know why I'm drawing a blank right now. I'm pretty familiar with the animals in the game, I just can't seem to think of any right now. The Komodo dragon, for example, things like that essentially. And then from then on, we could probably work our way towards the African section, where we'd include, of course, all the big savanna animals, so all the big kind of big ticket zoo animals. One thing I'm really unsure about though is whether or not we're going to be including elephants. Here's the thing, when it comes to zoos in the world, they do a lot of good work for animals, but there are some animals which really struggle no matter how good the husbandry is, and elephants tend to be one of those. Elephants are like, there are cases where elephants have lived really good lives in captivity, but generally speaking, it is very difficult to give elephants in captivity like a really perfect existence. Of course, at the end of the day, this is a game, and but this zoo I wanted to be quite realistic to what I would personally do in a zoo. So I do want to consider what, if I were to run a zoo in real life, what animals would I include, what animals I would avoid. And the elephants is a little bit of a tricky one for me, because I know you can do good elephant habitats, but even then, elephants do tend to struggle in captivity. So I will think about that, and I will look up some of the better examples in the real world. So I want to really look into how zoos that have had good experiences with elephants, how have they done it, and like how much enrichment do they provide? Do they take the elephants on walks, because that is a thing you can do? Do they, how much space do they give them? Stuff like that. But generally speaking, for a lot of the other animals in the game, there are plenty of really good examples of them thriving in captivity, so I'm okay with that. But just like the elephant, another issue I might have is with the big cats. Of course, with the jaguar, we did give him a pretty huge, the pair of them, we gave them pretty big habitat, and like I felt like that was more than appropriate. I think well, maybe not more than appropriate, they could always do with larger space, but I think that was okay for them. I'm more concerned about things like tigers, which of course have problems with like pacing and things like that in captivity. But again, there are examples of big cats that do well in captivity, so I will have to look into that and see how I could make these habitats as perfect as possible, which is kind of what I'm going for here. I want it to be realistic, but I also want it to be like an idealistic version of this. So idealistic realism is the concept I was going for from the first episode. I mentioned that. So of course that's something I will look into as well. And these are all issues I'm bringing up now because, like I mentioned, we are going into the Asian section now, which has a lot of these really big megafauna type animals, so it is worth thinking about because we might be doing them relatively soon. As far as going into this Asian section, as far as theming goes, I'm going to keep it relatively similar. I'm not going to change the theme very much. Of course, when it comes to certain habitats, I might do a big separate thing. For example, when it comes to giant pandas, if I am going to introduce them, they will probably get their own section just for them, because when it comes to giant pandas, they're obviously always on loan from China, and because of that, the zoo does pump in a little bit extra funding into them. That's just kind of how it works, and fortunately or unfortunately, I'm not, that's a discussion we'll have during the panda episode. Wow, this is getting quite heated in terms of a general zoo debate. So yeah, we will have all these discussions more properly when the episodes come out, and of course I do aim to provide you guys with the most up-to-date information and examples of both the good and the bad. But it's an important thing to remember that zoos do really, in general, accredited zoos especially, do always put animal welfare first, especially when they are accredited. Non-accredited zoos are not accredited for a reason, and they're probably done a lot more poorly. Or, it could be other reasons as well, but generally speaking, if a zoo is accredited, it is generally looking after its animals, so that's just kind of what I'm going to say there. And like I said, when the episodes themselves come out, we will go into the discussions about those guys. Then, moving on to slightly less controversial things, tell me what Asian animals you guys want to see first. Do you think my order as far as South Asia, East Asia, Southeast Asia is fine? Do you want me to flip that around? Which ones do you want to see first? Any of that? And you know what, even though that was controversial, leave your thoughts down below about what you think of, all the discussion we just had about, elephants, big cats. Just let me know what you think, whether you've seen some really good examples of this in zoos. Just, it's always really good to have a discussion and talk about these things with other people who enjoy, animals, enjoy zoos, because at the end of the day, that's what we're all here for. We do all like animals, we do all like zoos, that's why we're playing planetzoo, right? Yeah, so be lovely to get your guys' input on all this, because like I said, I do really value your input. We've had so many people talking and having discussions in the comments, and it's making me really happy that I can talk to you guys about the animals and stuff like that, so very, very happy about that. And of course, like I said before, thank you again for 300 subscribers. That is absolutely I'm just really happy about that. It makes me just quite look forward to the future of this channel, and well, just producing more content for you guys. Like, I am living for planetzoo right now. Like, I thought I would get burnt out of it, but I'm really not. I really, really love it. Like, this is a game that, like, if you told 10-year-old me this was in the future, oh my god, I would have lost my mind. And to be completely honest, I already have, even though I'm 23 now. The thing is, planetzoo is a great game for a person like me, who is, like, I really like creative things, but I also really love animals, and like, I'm sure all of you, like, who play this game feel very much the same way. Like, this is a great opportunity to both experience animals in a game that are a lot more realistic than the past games like Zoo Tycoon 2 and stuff like that, while giving you that creative outlet. I just really like it, and you've heard me go on about this a lot before, so I will get off it for a bit. And honestly, I thought that I was going to have to like leave a big gap in the middle where I didn't speak in this video because I thought I would run out of things to say, but apparently I ended up rambling again, so don't have to cut out any of that, so you guys are stuck with me again. But yeah, now that the video is heading towards its conclusion, let's just wrap up by talking a little bit more about this build. Like, I do hope you guys have enjoyed the video so far and the speed build. This was a little bit more complicated than I was expecting. So some of the little things that I had to deal with, for example, it was really tricky to make a custom flooring because I tried a few different options. You're only seeing the final version here, by the way, but I tried a few different options with different color, and of course I did try just using the path system itself, but the path system is not really meant for curved buildings like this, so it wasn't really ideal. Though the custom flooring I think works really well. The only issue being it stuck out the edges a lot, so you can see that, and that meant I had to cover up the outside perimeter of the building with either the concrete pieces or the mulch so that I could add some greenery. I think it looks okay, but that's again something to keep in mind if you guys are interested in doing your own custom flooring for buildings. One more thing that always irks me is that when you elevate a path, it has this very thick underside to it, and that's very hard to hide when you're making a building. So when I made this building, I had to use the stone brick, like the flat stone brick pieces, to kind of layer just underneath the path so that it covered up all those really, the ugly path bottoms. And so again, with the curved nature of the building, I had to kind of do a lot of off-grid work. So I had to build the flooring on the grid, take it off the grid, flip it, you'll see in the video basically. But that was a little bit tricky because, like I said again, interior design, not my forte. I do want to explore it a little bit more, and one of my friends suggested I should try playing The Sims on the channel, Sims 4. I tried The Sims 4 once, but I was so bad at designing like the houses and stuff, so I kind of had to leave it for a while. Maybe I will explore it in the future in terms of interior design, but I'm just right now not super into it. But I did really enjoy building the exterior of the building. I in fact included one little additional detail towards the side, which is a water tower, a small little water tank, sorry, which I've seen a few buildings have before, and I thought it looked really nice there. Also, towards the end of the video, I didn't record this, I think, but I made this kind of elevated, so perimeter kind of planter type thing. I don't know how to explain it, and that's where I put all the greenery surrounding this the cafe, and just towards that side of the build of today. Here's my issue with this. I might change it because I like having a lot of greenery like this, but I can't seem to find a way to introduce it quite naturally. Because this zoo is a tropical zoo and it's based off tropical zoos I've been to, and it needs a lot of foliage, and I want to make sure the foliage looks realistic, like for where it is. One of the things I loved about Singapore Zoo, for example, and I talk about Singapore Zoo all the time because it's my favorite, but one thing I love about it is when you're in the zoo, you feel like you're in a tropical rainforest, and for good reason. It's because it was built into a tropical rainforest. A lot of the plants and stuff that are in the animals' habitats and around them were there for, way before the zoo was ever there. So it does feel like you're entering a forest, and I want that feeling here, and I'm struggling to achieve that using these planter type situations. So I might try and create a few kind of clumps of foliage that are a bit more natural, like they look like they've been growing there forever and the zoo was just built around them. So I might try and do that. But yeah, that's something I have been struggling with in this episode, and I might change that between episodes, of course. Another thing I have an issue with is that there's a big empty space between the jaguar habitat and this building, and I didn't realize how big it was. It's actually big enough to fit a whole animal habitat in there. So I'm not sure what I'll put in there. That might be part of the Asian habitats. I'm not 100% sure yet, but it's pretty decent sized space. Like, you could probably fit in a medium sized animal in there. So I'll think about it, see what I end up putting in there. Those are just the some of the things that have been bothering me about this particular build. But yeah, I just realized I say that a lot. Like, this is would make for a horrendous drinking game. If you took a shot every time I said, but yeah, you'd be absolutely trashed. I say that a lot. I think it's just a sentence filler, and I need to stop saying it, but yeah, look, see, I did it again. Just not something I'll work on in the future, so I'll have a smoother voiceover. I have started scripting these a little bit more, so I have points to talk about. Thanks so much to whoever suggested that in the past episode. It's something I do want to work on so that I don't forget points, and it has helped me cover everything I needed to cover in this episode, which actually means that I've covered everything I needed to cover. There's not really much else I want to say in this episode. We are pretty much hitting the end of it. There's a couple of things I didn't record, for example, that I put on the words on the front that say Sannikovland Admin Building, and I just added a few things here and there off screen because the recording was getting a little bit long. But yeah, well, there you go again. There's another shot of you. Just want to say again, huge thanks to everyone. We've hit 300 subscribers, and that is something I am tremendously happy about. Really makes my day to see that number hike up a little bit more. So to all of you who are watching and who have not subscribed, please do. It does mean a lot. You'll be able to see my videos on your feed. If you enjoy them, they'll just turn up there, and if you turn on notifications as well, you will get notified whenever I upload a new video, which as of right now is on a schedule, and I'm somehow sticking to it, which I am impressed by myself about, because I am not good at that sort of thing. My schedule is usually horrendous. My daily schedule right now is really bad. I'm waking up at 12 in the afternoon, and I'm going to bed at 3 at night, which is not good for me. I need sleep. I need a proper night's sleep, so I need to reset my schedule, but usually I'm bad at that. But somehow for this videos, the past 2 weeks I've been managing to keep to the Wednesday and Saturday schedule, so, giving myself a little pat on the back there. But yeah, so if you guys want to see more of my content, please do subscribe. The next video will be out on Wednesday and the following Saturday, and Wednesday and Saturday, just like I mentioned before. The schedule should hopefully stick to that schedule. We'll see. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. If you do like the video, please do give it a like as well. Feel free to leave comments down below. I do respond to all of them. Tell me what your favorite part of the build was. If you have any questions, any feedback, suggestions, any of that, I'm more than happy to listen. So please do leave a comment down below. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and I will see all of you in the next one. Bye!